I heard about these three Jewish mothers. They were talking in New Delhi, New York, about their sons, how successful they were. The first one said, "My son, so successful, and that he just bought me a brand new, amazing car. He spent thousands of dollars on it. Amazing." Second one said, "That's nothing. My son is so successful, just bought me a brand new condo in Florida. Spent a fortune." The third one says, "That's nothing. My son, every day he drives on rush hour all through Manhattan to go see the best psychology. He pays $2,000 an hour every day. Why? To talk about me." I'll give you a minute to stop laughing before we continue. I want to talk to you today about no more, no less. You'll see where I'm going. First, I wanted to mention that, as you probably noticed, we have a second scroll this morning. And that is because we are going to have 4 special Shabbatot during the month of Adar. Okay? 4. This is the first one, and it's called Shabbat Shekalim, right? The second one is called Shabbat Zachor. The third one is called Shabbat Parah. And the fourth one is called Shabbat HaChodesh. Okay? Why do we need these 4 Shabbatot? Let me explain. The first one, Shabbat Shekalim, is talking about the half shekel. Half shekel was a mandatory donation, almost like a tax, that everybody had to pay to the temple back in temple times. Okay? The second one, and by the way, that has to be done during the month of Adar. Let me rephrase. That has to be done before the month of Nisan, which is the next month. And you know why is that? This is interesting because back in Torah times, Nisan was the beginning of the fiscal year. And it was changed later in history once we got the rabbinic calendar that starts with the month of Tishrei, with Rosh Hashanah. That didn't exist before. The first month of the year was Nisan, the month of Passover. So that was the beginning of the fiscal year, and they needed to get all this money from the congregation to buy all the animals and the oil and the incense that they needed for the temple for the next fiscal year. And that was something that it has to be a communal effort, and it could not be done by a single individual. So everybody had to contribute to that. And because that has to be done during the month of uh, the month of Adar, which is the month before Nisan. So before the month of Nisan of Adar, in this case, because it's a leap year, before Adar Sheni, we have Shekalim as a reminder that it's time to give the half shekel to the temple. Next special Shabbat is going to be the Shabbat before Purim, that is called Shabbat Zachor. And that is the one that we have to remember Amalek. That's what it said, Zachor. So remember what Amalek did to you. Why Amalek? Because Megillat Esther make it clear that Haman, thank you, that Haman was a descendant of Amalek. So that's why we read Shabbat Zachor. The next one is Shabbat Parah, and that is, it tells the story of the Parah Adumah, the red cow or heifer, that it needed to be burned to ashes, and the ashes would purify the entire nation of Israel. Why was that so important? Because if you were not pure, spiritually pure, you couldn't present the Korban Pesach. You couldn't present the Pesach sacrifice. And because after Purim is the countdown to Pesach, right? We needed a reminder to stay pure so we could go to the temple to give or to present the Korban Pesach. the Pesach sacrifice. That's why we read Shabbat Parah. And the last one is Shabbat HaChodesh, that we usually read it either the Shabbat before or on Rosh Chodesh Nisan. That is the one that contains all the little details about the Pesach sacrifice. So that's why we have these four special Shabbatot, and you will see that in the next Shabbatot, we're going to have two Sifrei Torah, two scrolls instead of one. But let me go back to this week's Parsha, the second scroll that we read about the half shekel. Because we read about the half shekel, that portion is called shekalim. And this Shabbat has a special name. It's Shabbat Shekalim. So what was this deal of the half shekel that we have to donate to the temple? It was a very interesting donation because it was the same for everybody. Everybody, doesn't matter who you were. If you were 20 years or older, you have to bring this half shekel to the temple. How much was a half shekel back then? This is something very interesting. I actually went to the internet and make my numbers because you have to get first the troy ounce of silver divided into 31.1, and then that will give you a gram of silver, and then you have to multiply it by 9. So in case you are curious, yesterday, that is when I went to the computer and did all the calculations, was about $7 per half shekel. Okay, so the tradition in these days, because we don't have a temple anymore, is to give a donation to the synagogue that is in remembrance of the half shekel, and because the shekalim reading that we just that Patrick actually just read contains the word terumah, offering 3 times, we give 3 half shekels, which means if you want to fulfill with this rabbinic mitzvah of bringing the donation in remembrance of the half shekel, you have to bring $7 times 3. Okay? Just so you know, a little bit of halakha never hurts. But there was something very interesting that is talking about the donation to the temple, right? And the Parsha says, Ashir lo yarbe ve'hadal lo yamit. Means the rich won't give more, the poor won't give less. And I can understand why the poor shouldn't give less, right? Because they needed a certain amount of money. It was a calculation how much they were going to need to buy all the animals for the sacrifices, right? All the oil for the menorah and all the spices for the incense. That's fine. But why would you say that the rich shouldn't bring more? I'm saying this because I've never seen such a thing in my entire life. Can you imagine, I don't know, Great Academy, there is, no, we're happy with your full tuition. We don't need any more money than that. Or somebody to the synagogue would say, oh, you pay your membership, that's fine. We don't need any extra money from you. It doesn't work that way. You know, if God blessed you with all those resources and you want to share it with your school, with your synagogue, you're welcome. But if the trust, no. In this case, said the rich won't give more and the poor won't give less. Why would that be? And the rabbi said something that is beautiful. They said, we are not talking about rich or poor in the sense that we talk about rich or poor. What we are talking about is all these donations are for the tabernacle, the house of God. And I said, the rich won't give more and the poor won't give less refers to the way God looks at us. So the rabbi said the right translation to that phrase, Ashir lo yarveh ve'adal lo yamit, it means in the, to God. A rich person is not more, and a poor person is not less. We are all equal in front of God. And that is something that sometimes we forget. And sometimes in this world, we believe that the rich is more and the poor is less. But that's not true. To God, we are all equal. And there is something that we have to learn. And I look at the world And I realized that humanity never fully learned this concept. The world believes that there are some people that they are more equal than others. There are some people that they are more important and some people that they are less important. And this is something that we unfortunately witnessed in world history, that there were, for example, certain minorities that they were always discriminated because they were less than others. Or, for example, last night we celebrated International Women's Day, you know, to uh, to celebrate the fact that perhaps finally, humanity learned that men and women, you know, are their dignity is equal. Finally, after how many generations? But unfortunately, when I opened the newspaper, I realized that some people that they believe that the Jews are less, and as such, we are not important. Our blood is cheap, and this is something that we have to realize. When we read this portion, and we remember the episode of the half shekel, we have to remember that despite what the world believes, we should believe that we are all equal in the eyes of God. And we should treat everybody the same, doesn't matter who they are. And that's why, if you look at Israel, they will treat, for example, a terrorist that is wounded or sick the same way that they will treat an Israeli citizen if they're wounded or sick. Because we truly believe that we are all equal and every life is equally valuable to the eyes of God. So I believe that half shekel couldn't come at a better time when we believe sometimes that we are less. We are not less. In the eyes of God, nobody's more, nobody's less. We are all equal. And the other thing that the rabbis say is, why half shekel? Why half shekel and not a whole shekel? Why the concept of half? It is because we have to understand that we are all incomplete, that we all need each other, that we cannot do anything alone. So the problem is when you believe that you are more than somebody else, then you feel that that somebody else is not necessary. We believe that we are all half of the equation, and unless that we cannot learn to coexist and to complete each other, we wouldn't be able to fulfill with the concept of tikkun olam, of repairing the world that is so important in the destiny of the Jewish people. Shabbat shalom.